I'd like to call Eddie on redistricting. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Representatives Camper, Crawford, Faison, Freeman, Hazelwood, Hicks, Holzclaw, Lambert, Parkinson, Russell, Vaughn, Whitson, Williams, Wendell, Vice Chairman Marsh, Chairman Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Today we will get an update from our committee council and continue hearing from members of the public concerning redistricting. So, Mr. Himes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, for the record, Doug Himes, counsel to the Select Committee on Redistricting. As the preliminary purpose of this meeting is to hear from the citizens who've joined us today, I'll be very brief. Just an overall picture, and given the compressed timeline this cycle, I feel like we're on pace for where we need to be at this point. I've enjoyed spending time with many of you and look forward to many more discussions as this committee continues its work toward the creation of fair and constitutional redistricting plans. And just wanted to point out an upcoming deadline, November 12th, 2021, it's a Friday, at noon is the deadline for the submission of outside plans. The guidelines are on the webpage of the committee, and I would encourage folks that want to submit outside plans that they not wait once they have a plan drafted, that they contact a member, get the member the information they need to be able to submit it to the committee by that noon deadline, again on November 12th. Speaking of the webpage, the website is still the best place to keep up with the committee. The easiest way to find it is to go to capital.tn.gov under House Committees, the last committee's redistricting. That is the best place to keep up to date with the committee. And my contact information is also there, and I'm always happy to answer questions to the extent that I can. With that, Mr. Speaker, and with your permission, I would be happy to transition us into the public comment portion of the meeting. We have 20 individuals that have signed up to speak today. I would suggest to them all that they have 3 minutes each. I will call their names, and we'll also let you know when your 3 minutes are up. Members have a compressed schedule today with going into session. If you don't need your 3 minutes, that would be great as well. But that's up to you. So with that said, Mr. Speaker, do you want to have anything to add?
The only thing I would add is we have several members on the committee that have a meeting at 3:15. And if you're here with a group, I would request that one person from the group speak. So, Mr. Himes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And could I add to that too, if when your name is called, for the record, when you come up to the table, if you would say your name, what county or city you're from, and if you're representing a organization, you feel free to let us know that. So Jacky Sims is the first person today.
Please come forward. Welcome. And if you would push the red button there on. Yeah.
Thank you all. Okay.
Yeah, okay. All righty.
Thank you, Representative Shaw.
My name is Jacky Sims, and I want to thank you for being able to appear before you again this year. I am here representing the State Conference of the NAACP. Ms. Gloria Jean Sweetlove is the president, and Jimmy Garland is our vice president. The Tennessee NAACP State Conference has worked with a collaboration of groups to evaluate redistricting in the state. And based on testimonies from Tennesseans at the 3 hearings and additional conversations with NAACP members, these are our concerns. First, making sure that the 4 large counties are not split up such that they dilute the vote. Making sure that the 4 counties are not split up in such a way that they particularly dilute or undervalue the African American voters. Related to the first 2 points, we are very much aware about national conversation around splitting up and potentially gerrymandering Davidson County as well as Shelby County. Another concern is that the new congressional district maps should put Hardeman County in the same counties as Madison, Haywood, Fayette, Tipton, Lauderdale, Dyer, Gibson, and the other rural counties in the Tennessee Delta area. Right now, Hardeman is in the same congressional district as Williamson County, which seems a little peculiar. The current map, in other words, places rural West counties in the Delta region in the same congressional district as Williamson County, and we feel this is inappropriate. Another concern is one raised by our members concerning Maury County being split up into 2 districts, the 4th as well as the 7th. Columbia is in the 7th, and the rest of Maury is in a congressional district that goes all the way to Bradley County, just at the edge of Hamilton County in East Tennessee. Similarly, our members feel that Anderson County, where Oak Ridge resides, should be in the same district as Knox County. They share commuters, proximity, as well as an identity. Finally, we ask that you consider eliminating prison gerrymandering in the redistricting process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ma'am, I actually, if you didn't mind,
Leader,
thank you. Are we going to ask questions at the end?
yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. I apologize. I
Thank
had
you.
stepped out for a moment. I was listening to the testimony, but ma'am, I may have a follow-up a moment. You said something that really piqued my
Thank
interest there. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Himes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Curtis Basinger.
I'm a little short. Can everyone hear me? Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to speak, committee members. I'm Curtis Basinger. I'm a physician retired from clinical practice almost 45 years. I reside in Davidson County in zip code 37205. And Bob Freeman, who sits on this committee, is my representative. I speak urging this committee to keep Nashville-Davidson County wholly within a single congressional district. And my arguments are historic, economic, and political in nature. First, the city of Nashville and combined metro government has been represented by a single congressional district since Civil War Reconstruction. The cartographers at the University of California, Los Angeles have maps of all U.S. districts since 17. If the legislature chooses to divide Davidson County, significant reasons for this need to be provided. I would ask, what overwhelming advantage does it provide residents of Davidson County in the state of Tennessee? I would also ask, what has changed in the last 10 years to make overturning 155 years of historical precedent compelling? And I hope I'm not amusing you. Okay, thank you. Second, business leaders and economists alike attest to the detriments of a divided political landscape, particularly on business growth. And I call the committee's attention to the very recent opinion piece by Bo Roberts published in the Tennessean on October the 19th. I read other pieces from other parts of the United States that support his view. Divvying up local communities to lose business voices in Congress and in the State House. One piece in the Philadelphia Inquirer cited that a fractured political landscape was a reason why Amazon failed to consider Philadelphia for a regional distribution center. I wonder if recovery by small business following the 2010 flood in Nashville would have been as rapid if Davidson County had been represented by multiple congressional persons. Third, political scientists have noted the social and political effects of poorly done redistricting. It diminishes the influence of voters, reduces competitive districts and government responsiveness to their constituents, and contributes to rapidly rising partisan polarization. I want to conclude with my own bias since I'm approaching 3 minutes. Having the legislature decide on district maps allows them to protect their positions by selecting with reasonable certainty those who will vote for them. This is an overwhelming conflict of interest. I want you all to compete for my vote. Both Democratic and Republican-dominated legislatures in the United States have demonstrated poor judgment as a result. One need only look at the
Mr.
crazy...
Basinger, your time has expired.
Okay, just look at the district lines that Texas and Maryland, red and blue, have come up with. No wonder many want partisan commissions, or rather independent commissions, to decide on district lines.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your...
Debbie Gould.
Hello, I'm Debbie Gould, and I'm president of the League of Women Voters of Tennessee. And for the last month, we have collaborated with NAACP, Civic Tennessee, and a variety of other civic organizations to hold 3 regional redistricting hearings across the state. And I wanted to highlight one of the consistent findings we found in all 3, which is that people want their county to be represented as a whole unit. And we heard it over and over again, not just in Davidson County, not just in Hamilton County or Bradley County or Maury County. We heard it over and over. People distrust what happens to their government when they don't get the unified voice that they think they can receive if their whole county is represented. So I urge you all, I know that it's not possible to keep every one of the 95 counties whole in this process, but I urge you all to minimize that as a way to maximize public trust.
Thank you very much.
Sinai Barber.
Good afternoon. My name is Sinai Barber. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here today. I have been immersing myself in this redistricting issue to try to understand exactly how the 5th district would be affected. It is my understanding that the population in the 5th district has grown so much that it needs to be broken up. The discussions have been around possibly breaking up Dixon or Cheatham counties, which would mean a much stronger chance of a Democrat winning and would not necessarily reflect the values and the people of the 5th district overall. If Davidson County were to be broken up, it would mean less gerrymandering, a more competitive election, and a better reflection of the 5th district's population at large. Many of the people who have moved to these areas that are causing an increase in population have moved here for the conservative Christian values in Middle Tennessee. So let's break up Davidson County's population in the 5th district. Otherwise, if we redistrict to keep Davidson County whole, that would, in fact, be the very definition of gerrymandering, redistricting in favor of the Democratic Party, which has been ruling here in Congress for, 145 years now? Anyway, a few more points. People in the outlying communities like Bellevue, West Nashville, Jolton, Belmead, Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Berry Hill, Goodlettsville, Old Hickory, Whites Creek, Antioch, Madison are completely dominated by the inner city of Nashville, where a majority of the population of the 5th District reside. Tennessee's population has increased by almost 8.9% since 2010 census. Why would people want to move here? Booming tourist economy is driving the building frenzy, but underlying this is the freedoms we enjoy here that other places lack. Because of freedoms of belief and conservative values, Tennessee is a Christian state and values conservative policies and practices. People in faraway places understand and admire the effects of such policies and practices, which is why they want to live here, work here, and raise their children here. The committee is empowered to help do the right thing, and that is to please ungerrymander, if you prefer that term, in Tennessee's 5th District.
Your time has expired.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dan McCormick.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Dan McCormick, and I moved to Franklin in 1978. I went to university on the West End in 1981, and I've lived in Nashville for the past 40 years. I was a partner at J.C. Bradford and have been a healthcare entrepreneur for the past 12 years trying to create jobs. Sadly, I put my house up for sale on Richland Avenue recently and have rented an apartment in Franklin. One of the main reasons I did this is that I don't feel like I'm being represented properly locally, or more importantly, in Congress in D.C. I knew in 2010 that there would not be representation for someone like me who believes in limited government, reasonable taxes, and prudent advocacy of free enterprise when supposed Blue Dog Democrat Jim Cooper, who knows healthcare and was a holdout on the Affordable Care Act, folded like a house of cards in the vote. Why was that? Well, because he was afraid of Megan Barry running for a seat from the left. That's when I knew that anyone in the middle or the middle right had zero chance of having to have their voice heard in D.C. A guy by the name of Barack Obama said elections have consequences. Well, there's no chance to have consequences for anyone not on the progressive freight train in B&A. At least let us have a chance to have a level playing field by not having a monolith in Davidson County. And for the record, I'm all for safety nets, all for them. All right. It took me 30 seconds to look up 2 other southern cities on the World Wide Web this morning. Atlanta DeKalb County is split 4 to 6 ways, depending on how you do the math. And Charlotte Mecklenburg County is divided in 2, and it's about to be 3 ways. Okay. All this conjecture on protecting Nashville's voice in Congress is a straw man. It is because of effective state economic policies and the inherent characteristics of Nashville as a financial, logistical, and educational powerhouse that has existed since the late 19th century. Okay, Vanderbilt, 1875, 1877, the same time that this has been a Democratic stronghold for all those years. We want a fair, level playing field. And I would argue that Nashville is bigger than Davidson County, period, full stop. That there is no logical reason that it must be in one congressional district. In fact, the opposite is true. It can have more voices in Congress if it has proper representation with a chance for all voices to be heard, not just the left that drowns out all discourse. I'm running in Franklin for a reason. We may be willing to return to Davidson County if we can have a chance to vote in a congressional contest that is contested. One of the things that has made America great is we have a 2-party system, not a bifurcated multi-party system like a European model. However, we do not have a 2-party system in Davidson County. I ask you to let our people go. I want to have elections that have consequences, to quote Barack Obama. What is the left afraid of? Let the best ideas win. I repeat, let our people go. Thank you.
Kimberly Edwards.
Right. Who needs
Well,
a snuggle?
Welcome.
My name's Kimberly Edwards, and I am a mom of 4 small children, this one being my most recent one, Isabella. And I live in Davidson County in the 5th District. I'm just representing myself. I kind of want to share a little story with you. A few years ago, I was watching the news and I saw that in California and in New York, they had removed religious exemption from vaccination for childhood vaccines. And that was troubling to me because I am strongly opposed to the use of aborted babies in the development of vaccines. And we have a special session today, of course, addressing some of these issues that we're seeing. But 3 years ago, I watched the religious exemption be removed. And then I saw in Nashville that our health department was pushing the state to do the same thing. And then I saw in Congress a bill to remove it nationwide. This is the first time I ever actually learned anything about politics. I figured out who my representative was, and I called Jim Cooper, and I told him I strongly opposed it, and I wrote him an email, but he ignored me. I also reached out to my local representative, John Ray Clemens, and Senator Jeff Yarbrough, and both of them were unwilling to really work with me. And these three men have something in common, and it's not that they're Democrat. It's that they ran unopposed in the most recent election. I have absolutely nobody who's representing me, and I don't even have someone who I can vote for. And when you run unopposed, you don't have to listen to the people who are voting into office. You just get the seat because your name is the only one on the ballot. I would just ask you to remember me, remember my kids and the future that I'm hoping I can provide for them here in Nashville as you try and draw lines that truly represent not just East Nashville of Davidson County, but also include Dixon County and Cheatham County and those of us who are conservative, who live in Davidson County, and we want our children to grow up here. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
John Wendt.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Thank you very much. My name is John Wendt, and I live in Nashville. And thank you for allowing me to speak today. The current district and the redistricting, I think, in some ways have an undermining effect in many ways in Davidson County with regard to representing the voice of the people. I think our legislature is obligated, in my opinion, to give the urban Davidson County population who share our values and a more level playing field when it comes to elections. As it stands right now in Davidson County, what do we have? We have 3 Tennessee Senate seats, 10 Tennessee House seats, 1 congressional seat, and nearly every local office here in Davidson County controlled by one political group. I wonder how can that be considered equal treatment? The signs that something is wrong with the current districts are obvious when you look at low voter turnout, unopposed one-party races in numerous elections, and a feeling of it's no use among people who want to seek elected office. This clearly undermines the American electoral system. And what is worse, in my opinion, is that those in power often, and those elected to office, can develop an invincible attitude that can lead to arrogance and a two-tier system of representation with an outright disregard for the views or the voice of all the people. So we're not asking for radical changes. We just want you to consider plans that include all people, all groups, and all voices, and a wide variety of the citizenship. It may take dividing in order to unite all these groups together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lulu Elam.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name is Lulu Elam, and I am a registered Republican. I've lived in Davidson County for my entire life, and I began voting when I was 18. And I live in the zip code 37215, and I have felt my entire life like I am a disenfranchised voter. It's very distressing to me there are plenty of conservatives in this county. Our voices are rarely heard, which is why I wanted to come here today. This is the first time I've ever really done anything like this. I'm not representing anybody but myself. I'm not a group. I'm not representing a group. But I really am distressed that in the last election, there was not even a Republican candidate put forth. And that's not because there aren't Republicans, it's because there's been a stranglehold on this county. And I just feel like in order for there to be competitive elections, which is, one of the reasons that we do the redistricting process, is to make sure that it's fair, and the best thing is to have a competitive election. So whatever you all need to do, and I don't have the answer to that. I'm glad I'm not the one making those decisions, because it looks like a messy, hard job, but appreciate that you're going to do it. And but I just appreciate you considering what I've spoken to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jim Garrett.
Good afternoon. Members of the committee and Mr. Chairman, I do appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. My name is James Garrett, Chairman of the Davidson County Republican Party. As I travel around this county talking with your constituents, I find out that we all want basically the same thing. We want a fair and equal representation in the Tennessee State House and the Tennessee State Senate. Whether we're Asian Americans, African Americans, Native Americans, Latinos, or just plain Americans, we all want representation in the General Assembly. Right now, we all feel we do not have that. I understand your job to do the redistricting is very difficult. Listening to those who have presented before this committee today only underscores that thought. When I was here before this committee, I asked that your decisions be based solely upon population. I have grown to realize your job is much more than just that. People want fair representation of their community here in the General Assembly, and I asked that, keeping with the population demographics, you give them just that. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Jessica Kennedy.
Welcome.
Thank you. So this is my first time, and I've written down every word. Jessica Kennedy, Davidson County, 5th District. As a registered voter for Tennessee's 5th Council District that covers Cheatham, Dixon, and Davidson County, are we being represented properly? Jim Cooper is the Tennessee 5th Congressional District seat and has been the incumbent for 20 years now in a seat that is seemingly with no competition by any other party. This should not be a career position either. Another conversation. The 5th Congressional District seat has been controlled by the Democrat Party since 1875. That is 145 years in Democratic control. Are all areas that are the current District 5 represent, are all areas that the current District 5 represents being represented? Cheatham, Dixon, and Davidson. Are these counties being represented in their morals, ideals, and values? The U.S. congressional seat for the U.S. representative should be used to represent this Middle Tennessee area and not just Davidson County. Tennessee's population has increased by approximately 8.9% since 2010 because of our Christian beliefs, our conservative policies, and practices. I have met countless refugees from other states seeking a proper life experience and representation here in this state. They are seeking the Tennessean way of life, and that should be represented in our choices for the 5th Congressional District seat. Please ungerrymander the Tennessee 5th District seat. Please make the U.S. congressional seat reflect those Tennessean citizens. Please break Davidson County up from having too much influence and from being a non-competitive district. Give equal divide of Davidson County to our greatest representatives across the state who actually represent our Tennessee values. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Gina Standifer. Carol Wendt.
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman and committee members, my name is Carol Wendt. I've lived here for over 30 years in Davidson County, right in the middle, the heart of Nashville. And I'm thanking you for allowing me to speak today. There's a couple of points I would like to make regarding redistricting as a resident of Davidson County. Considering that the Tennessee's population has increased by 8.49%, I just want to say that our conservative votes and representation in the urban areas of Davidson County has been diluted for many years compared to the rest of Tennessee. Changing that begins at the neighborhood levels in creating a fair distribution of all views, conservative and others, as reflected by our growth of more people with a diverse background who share our conservative values can feel they are involved. My own personal experience is that I have spoken with many young people coming to Nashville from other states to escape the political environment they came from. Now they claim they did not expect what they saw happening here once they arrived. It looks similar to where they came from. They also want equal representation. How can redistricting be fair when you have in Davidson County an impenetrable bunker that in practice disenfranchises one group of voters over the other year after year? Since I've lived here since 1984, I've never felt like my conservative values have been honored. They just are a moot point. I don't get answers. If I have a point of view, they are never accepted or never discussed. So I think that this shows that we need a different approach. We need a robust, competitive environment in Davidson County to fulfill the one man, one vote fairness that our system is built on. Please consider my comments in your decision on the redistricting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Philip Barber.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Philip Barber, and I'm a resident of Davidson County, zip code 37221. Appreciate the opportunity to address this body here today. First off, I think that the redistricting committee has to answer certain questions. Does the district as it's constituted represent all of the citizens of the district? And the answer to that is clearly no. There are outlying counties which have no voice in the Democratic Party that controls Davidson County. There are large voter blocks in Davidson County that have no voice. In fact, if it were a fair election, it probably would not be one that Jim Cooper has been able to occupy for 20 years without a challenge. Is the 5th Congressional District constituted and structured to ensure a competitive election? That question also has to be answered, and that's no. It does not represent all the people because I've just cited Dixon and Cheatham County, where Jim Cooper has very rarely ever visited, if ever, and no one in that county recognizes who he is. In fact, voters that I have spoken with in Dixon County have declared that they've never heard of Jim Cooper, don't know what he does, and don't know why he is elected. Are the interests of the people of these counties sacrificed for the interests of Davidson County or the voters of Davidson County that placed Jim Cooper in office? And I think that they are. And I don't think that that represents the ideals and the values that are being projected on the national stage in the U.S. Congress by Jim Cooper. Because what happens in Congress affects all the people in this congressional district, it should reflect our values, Christian, moral, conservative values, as well as liberal values. But there is no voice for the conservative values. This is evident the over 15 decades of dominance by this congressional seat by the Democratic Party. The definition of a representative is one who represents the interests of a group of people or another. Jim Cooper has not represented the people of the 5th District. He has represented his constituency, which consists largely of Davidson County and Nashville in particular. People are moving into Davidson County, Dixon County, Cheatham County.
Mr. Barber, your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Will Richardson?
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman and committee members. My name is Will Richardson, husband, father, Purple Heart recipient, and business owner all the way from West Tennessee, specifically from Shelby County, and even more specifically from Memphis. I'm here today because representation matters. It is important for all involved to remember that we navigate the redistricting process all across our beloved Tennessee. I want the best for our state, and I believe you do as well. Over the last 10 years, we've seen a shift in population and in access. I've witnessed friends and colleagues move from one part of town to another in search of better resources, neighborhoods, and opportunities to improve the quality of life for their families. I've seen more acquaintances transition to other parts of the state and even more completely leave Tennessee. Our dramatic population shifts reflect that. But what does that mean for the rest of us who believe that Tennessee is still a place that can be called home for a lifetime? It means we draw district lines not to secure seats, but to secure opportunities for future generations. It means setting politics aside and truly understanding a Tennessean's experience authentically in each of the 3 grand divisions. It means being aware of the people power our state maintains and the trust enlisted in each and every one of you to make sure communities have a fair shake with their representation. While decisions as significant as redistricting only happen every so many years, the impact is immediately felt. The decisions affect elections as early as 2022, lasting until at least 2032. Tennesseans cannot afford for this process to go awry. Unfair redistricting maps could yield communities being underrepresented, more lawsuits at the expense of taxpayers, and lesser access. Fair and equitable redistricting maps would mean adequate representation, better resource communities, and a flourishing Tennessee. The latter is what we should all aspire to have and to mirror our state motto, agriculture and commerce. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robin Baldry?
Welcome.
Thank you so much for letting me speak. I appreciate it. My name is Robin Baldry. I'm actually from Williamson County, and I'm here to specifically talk about the redistricting of 5 with Davidson County, Dixon County, and Cheatham County. To me, representation means just what the name implies. It represents the landscape of both the state they represent. However, in District 5, it makes up Davidson, Dixon, and Cheatham, as we know. Due to the increasing population size of Nashville, what you have, in my perspective, is one county dictating the representation of 2 other counties that have fundamental values that differ from the city of Nashville. I'm here as a 20-year resident of the state of Tennessee and a concerned citizen seeking fair representation for all. Breaking up Davidson County into equal parts gives the opportunity for fair elections with someone who represents the overall landscape of their district. So you don't have an urban voting
so you don't have an urban center voting on rural Tennesseans. And I know some of the redistricting may come into Williamson County, which I've lived there, like I said, for 20 years. 64% of our county is rural. And I have friends who live in Cheatham County. I have colleagues who live in Dixon County, and it definitely is very different than Davidson County. Our county is currently going through a redistricting that I think the map has already been picked, and it's coming to our county commission on November the 8th. I live in part of that county, in the southeastern part, that is grown unbelievably. My part of the county will be broken up in the redistricting, and I'm okay with that because it gives others fair opportunity to have other representation than just mine. I believe in fair elections and honest representation. Thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Caleb Baldry.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'll be very quick. I'm a native Tennessean, which here in Nashville is very rare. I like to say that I'm a unicorn nowadays. I grew up here. I went to school here. I've lived here pretty much my entire life. I am deeply concerned about the current state of competitive elections here in Tennessee, and especially when it comes to the redistricting coming up. I believe in fair and honest representation. I believe that the current congressional lines, we simply have gerrymandering when it comes to Davidson County, a county that basically dictates how Dixon and Cheatham are represented, even though those two counties do not share the same values that Davidson County does. We have particular representatives like Jim Cooper who are in office for 20 years, yet his allegiances are to Nashville, not the rural areas that surround the Nashville area. I do not believe this sounds fair. I do not believe that this allows for competitive elections. I love Nashville. I grew up in the area. I'm proud to be from here. I boast about my native status. However, it has become clear that the values of Davidson County differ from the values of the rest of the state. And no better example was how Nashville handled the COVID-19 pandemic. I left Nashville during that time. I gave up my home and I moved back to Williamson County, where I'm originally from, because of how Nashville handled these things. I lost one of my train of thought. I believe that the U.S. congressional seats are a representation of Middle Tennessee, not Nashville, and how it decides that it should run its government. It is a representation of the state and the values of the residents there, not of Nashville. I believe fully that this is not a right or left situation. This is fair elections. This is fair representation. And this is, I'm an equal opportunist, and there should be an equal opportunity for everybody represented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Savage. Sharice De Silva. Sybil Miller Watkins.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Sybil Miller Watkins. I'm from Fayette County, zip code 38066. Thank you for this moment of public comment. I am also a mom of 8 and a grandmother of 9, and I sit here speaking for their future. Unfortunately, and while definitely warranted, the current focus on redistricting the major cities and more populous counties of our great state can be and has been viewed to be used as a way to hide the possible gerrymandering of Tennessee's rural counties. According to recent data, we all know that Tennessee is almost 90+% rural. We know that these Tennessee rural counties represent a quiet electoral power in our state. It is this legislative gerrymandering that will lead to the nullification of the individual vote. This vote nullification is blind to race, class, and socioeconomical status. I drove 3 hours and 3 minutes to say, there is only one solution. It is imperative, it is necessary, it is required, as well as a Christian obligation of mine and yours, to make certain that district maps are drawn in a manner that does not ensure the victory of one political party, but it does guarantee the American idea of one woman, one man, one vote. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Kenya McGruder. Tom Savage. Sharice De Silva. Kenya McGruder. Mr. Speaker, that completes the list of speakers.
Thank you, Ms. Times. And I would like to thank all the members of the public that are here today and committee members. We have some of our colleagues from the House that have joined us. Would the members of the House that are here, not on the committee, would you please stand? Thank you very much. That concludes our business for today. The future meetings, our future meetings will be posted on our website. So, Mr. Himes, would you like to repeat the website again, please?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The easiest way for folks to go to it is to go to the General Assembly website, which is www.capital.tn.gov, and go look at House committees, and the last committee listed is redistricting.
Thank you very much. And if there's no further business, we stand adjourned. Yes, sir. He's going to ask her after the meeting. Thank you.